Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Due to popular demand, we're checking out the Kingfish Tele today. Kingfish is the nickname of Christone Ingram. He's a fantastic blues / rock and roll guitar player. I mean, just check him out if you haven't listened to his stuff. He has a very lively stage presence, and he just commands that guitar. It also helps that he has giant hands, so he can play some really interesting chords too. But he's a young guy, only 23 years old. He's currently touring in Germany, but Fender just recently came out with his new signature guitar, which we are going to check out today. And I'm really pumped to take a look at this thing because this is one of those signature guitars that, in my opinion, it transcends the artist and it's just cool no matter if you're a fan of his or not. Because look at this. It's a Telecaster Deluxe in a very dark purple, slightly metallic finish even. I didn't know to expect that. You've got double humbuckers, the troublemaker setup, and a whole bunch of other cool specs that we gotta learn about today. Okay, so Telecaster Deluxes first came out in 1973, and they look like this. They have this giant pickguard over the entire thing, very similar to Kingfish's over here. The biggest difference being, hey, we've got the Adjusto-matic, as Fender calls it, in the stop bar tailpiece, instead of what we've got over here, which is a string-through style. But this one also pays homage to the original ones by having the large Fender headstock. You've got the bullet truss rod, but your neck woods are very slightly different. The only 70s spec he didn't really go for is the true 3-bolt neck. He went for the traditional 4. If you prefer a more vintage style one, Fender also has one of those for about $1,750. But this signature model is running $2,000 in store, so a $250 premium for the troublemaker setup. You have a custom roasted maple neck on this with a slight V-neck profile that we'll take a look at on the workbench, and a few Kingfish mods to it. So we've got a comfort cut back here. We have Kingfish's name on our neck plate, but that's not the only place that he's branded this guitar. Your pickups, surprisingly, actually have the Kingfish branding. I didn't catch that on the stock photos. I was just excited for this one because it's the whole stop bar tune-o-matic stuff. But why did Kingfish spec it this way? Let's learn a little bit about his signature guitars before this. Now, I'll be honest, I really thought Gibson was going to pick this guy up before Fender did, but it looks like Fender beat him to the punch, or maybe we'll see some Gibson signatures later on, and I'm sure this won't be his only signature guitar. When Kingfish first rose to popularity, he was actually using custom-made Michael Chertoff guitars. He's got a pretty interesting custom Gibson-style guitar. It has like the PRS ridge around it, but then everything else is very traditional, except for there's no Gibson on the headstock. Still has the shape, but it's just the mahogany. However, he also used a Chertoff Telecaster. Now, if you look at this bad boy, it's kind of cool. It gives me like Gibson BFG vibes, but meets purple Telecaster. So if you look at this guy and then over to this one, I think it's very clear where the influence came from here. Except for we had to stick with a pickguard layout on this one. Maybe Fender said, hey, that's what we have to do for your signature guitar. Or maybe he just wanted it like this. I think it would have been awesome if we could have got like quilt top purple Teles like this, but I'll take it. I like everything so far about this. I mean, my first impressions are, great gloss finish with matching gloss headstock, but yet the back of the neck is still that nice satin feel. I like the addition of the rosewood fretboard, and the finish is called Mississippi Night. I've always been a fan of purple guitars, but I like how this throws back heritage to where he came from. So for $2,000, looks like we get the guitar. Nice molded hardshell case, my favorite Fender cases. I'm curious, do we get any cool case candy? Doesn't look like it. It's just your regular Fender COA. Okay, maybe I lied. It does have a little bit of a Kingfish flair to it. So to learn more about Kingfish's new signature Telecaster, let's throw it on the workbench, take an individual look at its parts and specs, and then get on to that tone demo. Inside the Kingfish Tele, let's talk about it. I'm noticing a few things that I don't really like too much. So the logo on the pickup, you're either going to love it or leave it, but it's actually a signature pickup just for him. They call them the custom Kingfish humbucker. So, okay, I can get that, but look what's going on here. The centers of the pickup are actually raised. But if you look at the way that the light is reflecting here, in person it just looks like a giant ding, like outward on the pickup cover. And who knows, maybe that was intentional, but to me it just looks like you have a dinged up pickup cover. And it's honestly kind of jarring. And you could say it's just whatever they use to put the whole Kingfish logo on it that reflects different, but it just looks like a bubble in the pickup cover. And then if we really zoom in here, You can see that the pole pieces on the humbucker don't even fully align with the cutouts of the cover. That's really apparent on the neck pickup, but not present at all on the bridge. They just look like your standard Fender humbuckers here. Then you can see your Kingfish barcode, and this is what the bridge pickup looks like. So they are labeled BR and N for neck. Bridge pickup reads 8.35 k ohms, our neck position a little bit less at 7.46, and the middle position for fun, 3.94. Now, as far as the rest of the electronics, it looks like we've got CTS pots. I'm not seeing what value they are though, but there's the capacitor. So now, modding potential. What can you do with one of these? Yeah, not too much. Pretty much just humbuckers. So we've got a little channel right here for your 3-way toggle switch. L-styled, a humbucker route with another barcode, and that leads down here to your other humbucker route with more barcodes, and then that leads into a little cavity right here, Les Paul style, for all your pots. Now you might be saying, whoa, that looks terrible. Honestly, that's just buffing compound. You could clean that out if you really wanted to. And this is kind of cool. This is like a masking tape that I think the factory was supposed to remove so you could actually see this barcode. They just put that over that when they spray it. So there we go, a piece of the finish that wasn't supposed to be there. Hold it up against the light, you can kind of see the metallic flakes. And this is the only other marking that I see. Then here's the pots on the outside. It's a full shaft that your skirted knobs attach to using that set screw. Kind of similar to what you find on their amps. But you'll notice in the pickguard there's actually a small divot, and you can kind of see the white layer exposed of this 3-layered pickguard. They use that to help you know what selection you're on instead of a thumb bleeder. But now let's check out our bridge tailpiece setup. Fender calls these the Adjusto-matic. It's the exact same thing Gibson uses. It's Advanced Plating Incorporated branded, so it's the same thing as a Gibson Nashville Tune-o-matic bridge. And surprise, surprise, the tailpiece is also Advanced Plated Incorporated branded. So yeah, Gibson and Fender, they buy from the same supplier. As far as body specs, they call it an alder body. Now they don't specify how many pieces. If you hold it in the light just right, you can see that line right here. That is a visible seam line. So it's at least a 2-piece body. This is definitely the most visible out of them. But then I think that I can see another one right here, but they did a better job hiding that. So I would guess a 3-piece alder body on these. But moving on from the body, we have a roasted maple neck with a rosewood fretboard. And it's acrylic dot inlays. I mean, that's what you normally find on Fenders, so that's nothing too crazy. But I really like this feature though. It's just a pearloid side marker inlay, but they look so nice in person. You know, if you change the angle, it almost looks like real mother of pearl. I had to check the spec sheets to see if that was the case or not. But no, it says pearloid for the side markers as well. But they sure do have a lot of character to them. But what you might like is the fretboard radius. That is measured at 12 inches. So that's a little bit flatter than what you'd find normally. So I like that because it's kind of Gibson spec'd. But you've got the 21 medium jumbo frets with a 25.5-inch scale length. They didn't go crazy and mess with that. But then we got a bone nut measuring 1.68 inches. That increases to 2.04 by the 12th. First fret neck depth 0.9, then increases to 0.93 by the 12th. That's a very consistent neck. Now the spec sheet calls it a V-shaped neck, so I wasn't really sure if that's a hard V, soft V, or what. I don't necessarily notice the V shape. It kind of just transforms into a regular C-shaped neck by right here, but you can feel a little bit more of a V in like your chording area. So I think that's actually pretty comfortable. It's like the best of both worlds in my opinion. You can see exactly what I'm talking about here. You see how that's kind of like an oval egg shape right here? That's the V that they're talking about. But it's a very soft one. But then up here by the 12th, I mean, it's pretty much a C shape. But up here on our headstock, we've got some beautiful wood grain of the maple here that's been roasted. Telecaster Deluxe Fender model decals. You've got double string trees and the 70s style bullet truss rod. And you have vintage style tuners. They're not locking or anything like that. Now moving on to the back, we don't have too much to talk about. We do have Kingfish branding on the neck plate, as well as a special KF serial number standing for Kingfish. 220518 is this particular one. And we've got this big old comfort carve swoop down here, so it can rest up against your body a little bit better. But everything else, standard Telecaster here. Got a jack on the side, strap buttons in our regular location,
And then we get to our roasted maple neck. Remember, this is a satin finish, whereas everything else we've been looking at today has been gloss, so that's why it's a little bit more dull in color. Camera's making it look a little bit more caramelized than it actually is in person. I mean, the walnut's looking really pale here as compared to like a full gloss neck. I've got a interesting wood grain pattern right here. Not my favorite, but then we get another Kingfish decal. I think this signature guitar suffers from too many signatures from the artist. I mean, neck plate, back of the headstock, pickups. I'm surprised there's not another one up here, to be honest. But thankfully, the design and the color is so cool that I don't think it really matters. And if you're that upset about having that on the pickup cover, I mean, you could technically replace those. Not that big of a deal. And you could change your neck plate. That way, that's the only thing that has to stay on the guitar. All said and done, how much does it weigh? 7 pounds, 14 ounces, so a little under 8. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and capture some tone samples. All right, let's go ahead and run through the tones of this. I'm noticing right away, I'm liking this neck pickup. It's nice and full and boisterous. Where in contrast, I honestly don't like the bridge pickup that much clean. It just sounds so dead in comparison. But normally when that's the case, once you kick on some dirt, that's when those things start to shine. So don't count that out quite just yet. But if I was just using this strictly as a clean guitar, I would probably actually lower the neck pickup a little bit and then raise the bridge just a hair to kind of balance them out. But the magic is when you blend those two together. I am noticing that this neck pickup is kind of microphonic in a way. Like if you're right by your really loud distorted amp, it does this squeal. But if you turn that down to like a 7 or an 8, it doesn't do that as much. But you can kind of hear my voice coming through the pickup right now. So that definitely means they don't wax pot the neck pickup. But I don't notice anything like that on the bridge. So maybe they do for that.
Now that we know all about the Kingfish Tele, what are my final thoughts on this? Did we find a few QC things? Yes. Did the neck pickup sound awesome? Also yes. And is it a stylish beast? I can attest to that as well. But is it worth $2,000? I mean, I guess I'll let you decide that. The thing with Fenders is, I mean, you could build your own parts caster version of this or get something slightly cheaper. So in that aspect, yes, I think it is worth the $2,000 if you were already buying a brand new Telecaster Deluxe from Fender USA. What I can tell you is the craftsmanship was good. There's no sharp fret ends or anything like that. The fretboard just needed a little bit of a conditioning when I got it. And I can't tell you guys just how much I love these pearloid dot markers on the edge. They just look so good when you're playing this. Like when I first saw these things get announced, I thought he had spec'd it out as a mahogany neck. But I really want to emphasize on if you were scared away of this guitar because of the whole V-shaped neck profile, I honestly didn't even notice it while playing. Now, if you're taking your thumb and feeling for the V, yes, once again, like what we were talking about earlier, you can feel it in this area, but it just completely disappears by right here. It's basically just a medium C shape would be the best way I would put it. But it definitely doesn't sound like a regular Telecaster if you're going for like super twangy stuff. But all right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.